Okay, so let's talk about a few things, shall we? Yesterday I made a video and I said that this amazing glitch in the Matrix where there was a shapeshifter. We could see it in plain sight. It was there for all to see. Now you see, what I'm always doing in my videos, people, I'm always offering you the possibility of thinking in a certain way. And when I make videos like this and like other things, some people get bees in the bonnet and really want to try and narrow me down. And they get upset because they can't narrow me down, because I am in actual fact a shapeshifter. We're all shapeshifters, people, and I'll speak more about this in due course. But some of you people who have experience in video and film editing, you state immediately, oh, that's just this and that's just that and it's whatever, you know, all these different sorts of things. And doubtless all of you have your own ideas about what it is and disagreements with one another, even though you've probably been doing the same thing for some period. But this is the human being for you. This is the human being, and I'm getting to this also. So you could look at that and you go, shapeshifters, this David Icke nonsense and la-di-da-di-da. If you have had an experience in that realm of editing, then that would be a large portion of your life and what you think you know about the world. But if you had read about the Gnostic writings and archonic shapeshifters, and if you've read many accounts of this phenomenon, if you are deeply familiar with movies like The Matrix, who refer back to ancient mythology and religions and many facets of what it is to be a human being, from many facets of how we perceive what we are. Including the so-called physical, the metaphysical, the ontological, the psychological, the spiritual, all these different sorts of things. And so what these Wachowski brothers, who are now trans, by the way, picture that. How's it possible that you've got two brothers that trans at the same time? And now they're full-blown transgender. And within this Matrix movie there are allusions to transgender and shape-shifting and things not being what they appear to be and all this different sorts of stuff, you see. So what they have done now is, as a result of writing that movie, they have become shapeshifters themselves, because they always knew they were shapeshifters. They always knew that they weren't what other people considered them to be. Other people always considered them to be men, but inside they didn't consider themselves to be men. And so now on the outside they pretend to be women, but of course they still look like men. And so they have become the very essence of what they were writing around, the shape-shifting thing. You know, there isn't a spoon, there is no spoon, there is no definitive truth. Everything is a shapeshifter. The cosmos is a shapeshifter. That's why yesterday I made a video titled The Paradox, which only half of you are interested in, because you probably don't even know what paradox means. You're not even interested in the paradox. It's vastly too complicated, too confusing for you. But if you ever got your head around the paradox, then you get your head around a whole lot more stuff which is going on in the world. So, The Matrix. Delving back into the Gnostics and ancient mythology, the beginning of the cosmos, people. That's what that movie is pulling from. Then, if you read about the simulation hypothesis coined by a modern philosopher, Nick Bostrom, and philosophers are very logical, and he states several paragraphs of logic which are logically irrefutable, that we are not in a simulation now. Logically irrefutable. And then you've got people, and I always mention it, Neil deGrasse Tyson, who is held in very high regard by lots of people, and he's saying, because he's done a lot of research and he speaks to a lot of people and he reads a lot of books, people, and so he says, I'm still waiting for someone to prove to me that we're not in a simulation. Then you've got the holographic principle, that this is just a projection. Then you've got the Buddhist Maya, and then you've got different versions of spiritualism whereby they say this is just a dream. And I'm halfway through a Deepak Chopra video, and some of you may scoff at Deepak Chopra for whatever reasons, but open your minds. And what he says, he's pulling from all this stuff, and so it's not Deepak Chopra that's the fucking fool, people. He's pulling this stuff and he's putting it together, and scientists may think he's a fool, but scientists are fools. Many people think scientists are fools. I think scientists are fools because they're beguiling themselves and they're deluding themselves, and they are creating fictions from their own projections, their own consciousness, because when you look into what actually is here, there's nothing here. I mean, quantum physicists tell us that there's nothing here physical. It's just energy, and it's conscious. It's conscious energy. That's what quantum physicists say. Conscious energy, no material matter. So if we've got some of the most brilliant brains on the planet which have said that for over 120 years, and nobody can refute that, nobody can dismiss what they have found, and it's just bizarre. But you see what that Copenhagen experiment, double slit experiment, relates to is what the Hindus have been speaking about for many years, that this is all Mayan, it's nothing like what you consider it is to be. And then a relatively modern philosopher, René Descartes, who says, I think, therefore I am. And the only thing that he could be sure of was he was thinking, something was thinking. But then the Buddhists take it even further, and they go, no, René Descartes got it wrong. When you don't think, that's when you are. Because when you don't think, you're outside of the ego, because the ego is thinking. The ego is a fiction, you see. So René Descartes in 1650 didn't know that. But now we do know that. And so when we go into the deepest of meditations, there's absolutely nothing there save pure awareness. And when I read the comments, oh, this is just this, oh, that's shapeshifters, and all this. What do you know about shapeshifters? Have you read the history of the world from all different sorts of cultures which have professed to have seen these entities? Are you very familiar with David Icke's work? And David Icke is held in very high regard by anyone that's intellectual, because whatever is said throughout the years, the vast majority of it has been proven to be so. Things which can't be proved are that there are archonic entities shape-shifting and manipulating leaders via an invisible energy and all this different sort of thing. But when we look into what this construct is, it's invisible energy. That's what it is. There's nothing here, no matter. So people just fucking relax. That's what I'm saying. Stop thinking that you know something, because there's always more to know. And if you just listen to one age-old adage, and it's like, the more we learn, the more we realise how little we know. Well, how true that is. How true. Scientists think they know this, and then they discover that they're wrong, and they know this, and then this, and then this. Oh, God. You can imagine scientists and philosophers all over the world just crying in despair, because there is nothing here which is ultimately definable and dependable, people. This is consciousness having a dream. When we go in our dreams at night, what happens in our dreams? All different sorts of crazy shit which could never happen in this reality. And so, when we're dreaming there, just take a little leap of faith and just imagine we're dreaming here. Then when you start looking at the Mandela effect, all that fucking shape-shifting shit that's gone on, very bizarre stuff. And there's billions of people all around the world who will absolutely swear that things used to be in another way, and now they're not. So you've got the Mandela effect, you've got the Matrix, you've got the simulation, you've got the hologram, you've got the dream, you've got Maya, you've got all this different sorts of stuff going on. So please, people, what I'm saying to you on my channel, just try to be open-minded. So I started to have a fool around, shape-shifting myself, speaking about Elon Musk. Obviously he's a Martian. Of course he is. No human being would dance like that. Donald Trump is obviously a Martian as well. They're all in it together. Nobody has hair like that. Oh, and another observation, he's got this stupid Martian dance thing going on. Fucking ridiculous. And so you look at them, very, very steeped in, you know, fucking bizarre mental fucking scapes, you know. When we look into how people are, people could write books and books and books about Trump and his psychology. They could write books about Musk. If he ever fucking said anything intelligently, but they could write books what other people said about him, because that's the thing, other people say things about Musk, but what does he say? Nothing. Never heard him say any fucking thing. Preposterous. Very, very fucking preposterous indeed. So when we have videos like that, it was a very different video from what I normally do in one respect, but in another respect I'm always making videos like that. I'm always presenting to you the shape-shifting nature of the cosmos and what we think the world to be. And, you know, people in the comments that try to narrow me down, well, you said this and so that must be true and this must be true and that must be true. Nothing must be true. Because when you look at math falls to pieces at some level, and it isn't infinitely true. When we look at quantum physics, then whatever goes on in that, no quantum physicist would ever depend on what they are recording, because they know the nature of the quantum realm. It doesn't comply with any rules. It's like it's consciousness itself, and it does what the fuck it wants to. So once we start to understand a few of these concepts and things, people, and once you've got understanding, and once you've read about these different sorts of things, you bring them all together, and then, like me, you just play with this stuff, because there's no point in getting fucking serious about it. Now, I'm going to be reading a few comments which are poignant and interesting, because this is a reflection of you. This is what you think you know. And what I'm saying to you is you don't know anything. You really don't know anything. And I can point out many, many realms where you are bereft in your lack of knowledge. And I can think of a billion areas where I'm bereft. But, you know, my knowledge, for the greater part, is more extensive than the vast majority of you. And so, therefore, I'm always saying I'm speaking to you from an outer parameter of a concentric circle. And, you know, you can consider that demeaning or whatever you want to do. I'm not Rupert Spira. I'm not going to be pretending that you're all geniuses and you're all equal and you all got the same attributes and abilities. No, I'm not. I'm not doing that, because I don't see that. So, in my video, do I have the Messiah complex? I'm being facetious. I'm being facetious, but also I'm being perfectly as real as I can be. Because as far as what I can see, from what all Jesus said, I've said all what Jesus has said, except the silly things, and a whole lot more. Jesus was preaching for 1.5 years, period, over. And when you read what he said, just very, very basic, elementary stuff for the fool in the street. But then when you get into the books that never made it into the Bible for obvious reasons, then he starts to be less wishy-washy, more succinct and more believable. And so when you look at that Jesus, and he tells you you can do just what I can do. If you learn what I've learned, then you will see the world like I do. You will know what the kingdom of God is, because truly I say unto you, the kingdom of God is within you all. You know, on and on and on and on. But there's still billions of people who will listen to that, will never ever accept it. Why? Because they don't comprehend that they've been brainwashed. They've been hypnotized from a kid. And just like the Catholic Church says, give me a boy from 1 to 7 and I'll show you the man. Meaning that they can completely control the thoughts of that individual once they've had 7 years in their formative years. The formative years, people, they program, and it's exceedingly difficult then to get out of it. And when we listen to people who have left the Catholic Church, they've left it in a way, but in another way they're still bound and controlled by it with the Catholic guilt and lots of other things. They never ever completely emancipate themselves from the programming. Just like if you delete all the stuff from a motherboard, you think, oh, you've cleaned up the motherboard now. Wrong. Because that information is indelibly embedded into the motherboard and it can be retrieved. So don't ever think that you can get rid of everything like that, because you can't. And so look at all these similes and things that I'm offering you. I'm pulling from the fucking cosmos and the expanse of human knowledge. Now, some fool here says you are very disrespectful, disrespecting what you don't understand. When I'm speaking about the Messiah, saying, I'm the fucking Messiah. Obviously I'm the Messiah, because all Jesus was saying that it's about the Christos. His name wasn't Jesus Christ, his name was Jeshua ben Joseph. The Christ is the Christos. That's that essence of what we're all supposed to have. And if we are fortunate enough or lucky enough or we work hard enough, then we can raise that up, and then we can have this enlightening experience and see the world in a very, very different way, and know that we're not the body, and we know that we're connected with something which is bigger, which probably seems like must be God or something like that. That's the Christos. And so I am not out of my tree, people, when I'm telling you that I have the Messiah complex, because I absolutely do. If you grasp what I'm really saying, I'm not Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ never existed. That's a made-up name. A man existed, and it's all been blown out of proportion what he's purported to have done. But if you listen to the fucking Book of Thomas and Gnostic writings and things like that, then you can see it's just a man who's had an education into the spiritual and psychological realms, and that's what I've had. And so fools telling me I'm disrespectful because they're completely and utterly indoctrinated and brainwashed and have no fucking idea what they're talking about. Insufferable fucking fools. Insufferable. But what do? 90% of the world is like that. It's a very difficult place to be when you're genius, people. So here's another one from an old time viewer, and I can say the name because she puts her name up, Jill Turner. She's been a viewer for a long time, and she went away for a few years and she's come back, and so this is what she says. Morning. Only been reacquainted with you for a week or so. All my favourite subjects, but I can't keep up. Most inspire a mix of agreement, disagreement, ideas. Some inspire admiration, some judgment, and some really piss me off. The trouble is, like you said in one of them recently, any one of these topics can be magnified and delved into for hours, for years, forever, and you will never find the root of it. You will just end up eating your own tail. That's the shape-shifting nature of the cosmos. That's the paradox. And, you know, what's going to upset people and traumatize them is like what's happening to this woman here when they have beliefs, like that guy talking to me about being disrespectful, when they've got beliefs, when they're under propaganda, when they've been programmed but they don't know they've been programmed. And then they've got a hold on that and they cling to it because that's what the human being has to do. The human being has to cling to the fiction because there's no reality here. That's all the human being has got. Fiction to cling to. How do we create the fiction? By our projection of our concepts onto the world. I'm going to post a link down below with this Deepak Chopra video, which is speaking very eloquently, pointing out all these things, how this happens, people. And once you've got your head around that, you'll stop fucking being solid in any of your opinions ever again. I'll never have the time to go back to what I was going to get to the other day when she started wanting to talk about something. So I'll just draw a line and speak from the present moment. I'm so prolific. You know, very, very few people can keep up. You know, particularly if you're working. And so you are, you know, you only ever get in the odd picture of the jigsaw puzzle, because I'm this thing that's going on here is a lineage. It's very linear. It's following thoughts every day. The morphing in and out of different things, and so it's like watching one episode of a series. You're only going to get just a little bit, and you're never going to be able to comprehend where I'm coming from, really, because it's like if you read a page out of my book, you've got to read the whole fucking book. But not only do you have to read the whole book, you have to read 1,000, 10,000 other books before you're going to comprehend what I wrote in that book. You see, it's vast, people. It's just too vast. I disagree with you about the heart question. My understanding is that when it's spoken about in terms like from the heart, listening to the heart, it's referring to the energy center in the chest. Not the actual physical organ, albeit that is affected. Well, here we go. The heart is just a fiction. I'm going to be posting a link in this video about what Google says about the heart, what science says about the heart, what people have done in research about the heart. Where does this silly fucking picture of the heart derive from? Who was the first people to start speaking about the heart? Plato, Aristotle, things like that. Why was that? Because when we get emotional, the heart starts beating. Why does the heart start beating? It's not because it's got anything to do with fucking love or hate. It's got something to do with cortisol. It's got something to do with chemicals. It's got something to do with anxiety. It's got something to do with feeling very pleasant. Where do these chemicals come from? They come from the brain, people. And so, you know, just about every scientist on the planet will tell you that the heart's got fuck all to do with love and emotion and anything like that. It just feels like it is, because you can't feel the brain firing. You can't feel the brain giving all this. You can't feel the cortisone being dripped from the cortisol. You can't feel that being dripped from the amygdala. You can't feel neurotransmitters and dopamine being fed into the body, make yourself feel wonderful. No, but when the heart's fluttering, oh, you think it's the heart in ignorance. Ignorance, people. The heart has fucking nothing to do with emotion. In actual fact, you know, nothing has anything to do with anything other than the chemicals in our brain. All fucking, and I even write about this in my book, and I've proved it to be so, because I can take DMT and I can see God in the clouds, and I can feel absolutely wonderful. And then you look why that is, and you go, whoa, DMT is almost identical to serotonin, the molecule, the neurotransmitter. And when you get a flush of DMT, serotonin, you feel absolutely fucking electric, on fire, and then you go, well, that must be God then. Why do we say that? Well, because we consider the feeling so wonderful, you know, must be the height of being a human being in connection to something, because we feel like pretty bereft and small and lost and insecure, so we're always clinging to something. That's our nature. And many other reasons you can always, you know, put things, you know, put the pieces together. I disagree with you about the heart question. Well, you disagree because of your lack of information. If you read this article of Google and go on to look at much more what Google says, well, 99% of it will say that the heart's got fuck all to do with love. And so how does that make you feel? It makes you feel stupid, because that's what you've believed all your life, and that's what you think everybody believes, and most people do believe that. And that's what I'm saying about this shape-shifting fucking human experience. There's nothing real here. It's all fantasy. The concept of love coming from Aristotle and Plato and thinkers like that, because they felt something in their chest and what the fuck this is, and they probably didn't even know, you know, hardly anything about the heart. They probably had some sort of idea that it's a pump and it pumps the blood around, but other than that, nothing, you know, 2,000 years ago. And so what can we say about that? Well, you know, it was just an idea, and it's quite kind of feasible. If when you're feeling something in your body, bump, 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 and then that makes you think in a certain way, love, hate, fear, enjoyment, then you may think that that's responsible. But that's just because you didn't know what's going on here, because you don't feel this. So it's a no-brainer, really. But now, with the advent of science, then science can look into that and go, well, actually, we can't find any reason why the heart would produce this love. And even when we look into love, as a philosopher or things like that, you go, well, what is love? It's just a fucking idea. It's an idea premised on chemicals in the body. And there is no such thing as love, people. It's just a fucking idea. So there's no such thing as love. There's no such thing as about the fucking heart being the centre of love. There's no such fucking shape as that other than what was created. You know, it stems from nature. You know, there are seeds, or there used to be a seed in a perfect heart shape, and you know, you can walk around nature and you can see a bunch of leaves. I mean, look here people, this fucking leaf is in a heart shape, okay? And you can find 1,000 leaves if you open your eyes, rose petals and flower petals and all that in the shape of a heart. And so we look at that and we find enjoyment from it. And so when we find enjoyment from it, well, we replicate that in our mind, and then we'll try to emulate it, copy it, and then what do? Well, we just copy the fucking shape and the colour. If you've got a red rose petal and it's in a heart shape, well, fuck me. I'll send some, we've been sending red roses to people for fucking hundreds of thousands of years, haven't we? And so, you know, probably someone initially that took a red rose petal out, and this is beautiful, fold it between some pages, put it in a letter, send it to their lover, because all the rose smells beautiful, the rose is beautiful, it reminds me of you, I give you roses, all these things fit together. It's got nothing to do with the heart, people, nothing at all. So when you disagree about the question of the heart, like somebody else did, Bernadette, she was absolutely refuting that, because women, they just want to feel something. They want to feel love. It's all about love, and lots of idiot men as well. It's all about this love, and because they can't stand the rest of what's going on in the world. And so they want to retreat. And I was speaking to a woman the other fucking day, and, you know, in all due respect, she'll be watching this video, but it's the same thing, clinging on to this love. Why? Because they're so insecure. If you are secure, like a mountain of a man, you don't fucking need love. Right? And that's the difference. And so it's a no-brainer, isn't it? If you're weak, and if you're fragile, and if you're feminine, and if you're not very fucking smart, you're not very worldwide, this, that, and the other, well, fucking hell, what have you got if you've not got love? If you can't stoke up the embers of the fire within your own breast to feel something of benefit of this fucking world, this hellhole that you're in. So you go, oh, love, 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 and I like listening to Love Rupert Spira, and I like listening to reading love poetry. Oh my goodness, get outside of yourselves, go and travel the fucking world, and then you'll look around and you go, well, this fucking love that I was imagining, I can't find any fucking semblance of it. I can't find no fucking inclination that it even exists. All I can see is a fucked up world, to be fair, people. But then one day when you like somebody, and they, you know, sound like they like you, then all of a sudden you start getting fucking a bit afraid of that. You start feeling, wow, I mean, ooh, I might start getting addicted to this person. I might start getting attached. What would that mean? And then you start getting afraid and anxious about it. And then all of a sudden you think, like, oh, that's love in your heart. No, it's not. It's the cortisol, it's the fear fucking dripping through your blood, people. It's the fear, and you think it's love. Good God. I know what you mean about intuition. The older I get, I have learned that it serves me very well. Some time ago I realised, like you said in the woods, in that video in the woods, you can philosophise forever and end up going round and round in circles, which seems to be brain activity predominantly. That's all it is. It's conscious. In actual fact, it's not even brain activity, it's consciousness. Because there's been scientific proofs that people don't have fucking brains. In actual fact, there's been people that they've had operations on the fucking brains, and surgeons have discovered that they don't have a fucking mammalian brain. They only have the stem brain and maybe the medulla. These two little brains at the back. So all this fucking shit, they're supposed to be responsible for all that shit. Well, it's been proven that it's not needed. And so where do we go from there, people? Again, it's like the heart. We've been told and perverted and indoctrinated and hypnotized about all these things. Well, the more we're getting involved in science, the more we're busting all these things, and we're just saying it's just not true. It's just not true. And even consciousness, it's said to come from the brain. Nobody's ever found it in the brain. And so, well, people are now looking for it somewhere else. Well, you know, like quantum physicists, well, the cosmos must be conscious. This thing must be conscious. And then it's not too difficult to believe when you know that we've got like a cerebral cortex around the world, similar to the Akashic records, only it's called Wi-Fi today. And we don't have any problem accepting that, do we? We can't see it, we can't taste it, we can't cut it with a fucking knife. But we accept it's there, don't we? Because we're told it's there. You know, is it there? Is it really there? Then you can say, oh, how does this work? And how? We don't fucking know. How does the cosmos work? We don't fucking know. So stop thinking that you do know something just because you've been told. Because that's the oldest fucking the oldest form of deception in the world, for someone to tell you something and then you take it on board as true. Just take religion, for instance. There's a God up in the fucking clouds and he's telling you to do this and telling you to do that. And in the book it tells you that God loves you, God loves you. And every single act this fucking heinous motherfucker does is an act of violence and an act of fucking despicable fucking... everything you could wrap up in one. What's negative about the human being? Well, fuck me, it's rolled up into that notion of God. Not a single notion of anything beneficial, loving, endearing, nothing from that Old Testament. Come on. And how many people? Oh God, my God, up in the sky. Oh please, God. Oh good God, good God. The idiocracy of the human being, fucking insufferably dumb. Okay, so the older I get, I have learned that it serves me very well. Intuition. Some time ago I realised that, like you in the woods, the philosophising going round in the circles, blah blah, and it was exhausting and pretty much a solitary endeavour. Also not good for my health. Why isn't it good for your health? Because, dear, it tells you that you don't know anything. You never will know anything for sure. There is nothing to really be known definitively. And so your whole life is an illusion. Just like the Hindus have been saying for thousands of years, it's all fucking Maya. Just like quantum physicists have told us for the last 120 years, there's no physical fucking matter here. So you don't have a heart, you don't have a brain, you don't have a body, there is no world. If you want to look closer at that, if you can get your heads around it, I hold up this and I ask you what it is and you say it's a cup, and every single one of you are going to say it's a cup, or you might get smart and say it's a fucking mould of a clay and this, that and the other, it's the earth and blah blah blah. But all those things are concepts. Take the concepts away, what the fuck have I got in my hand? Nothing. Nothing. Energy. Energy. You see, people? And so it's too shocking for people. They can't go there. They're living in their mundane, you know, silly lives and doing their silly things and wondering what the fuck's going on. What's the purpose of life? Why should I be here? Why should I be press-ganged into slavery for 50 years of my fucking life? Why am I living hell? Why am I believing in the fiction of money? The money's not premised or based on anything. It's just a fucking idea. Money is an idea. It isn't premised or based on anything or of any consequence. No material matter. Nothing of any value. It's just fucking paper. It's just an idea that you've been indoctrinated with. Can you see what I'm saying? Everything is an idea. Plato stated that this whole fucking thing is just form, mental forms, ideas. There is no physical matter here whatsoever. Come on, people. You got to evolve. You've all been hypnotised. You're all fast asleep. You just got to keep reading, listening, experiencing. Experiencing is absolutely vital, because you can get your head filled with all this stuff, but it'll mean nothing to you until you've felt it. Right? The human body is a feeling. And yes, you've felt this fucking shit. You don't know what anything is. So eventually I dropped it all to a large degree, decided to go back into the world and just trust my intuition. Exactly. Like the Truman Show. You know, look, there's a video made by Jed McKenna talking about the Truman Show. And he says this: when Truman got to the fucking parameter of the dome in the boat and you see him go out the door, Jed McKenna says he never actually left. He couldn't leave because his whole world, everything that he understood and thought he comprehended about the world was within that dome. And so to go out of the dome would go out into Nietzsche's abyss, into a world which was astronomically over and above anything that he could perceive. Give me a child from the age of 1 to 7 and I'll give you the man. Well, Truman had been in that fucking box fucking dome for 35 fucking years. There's no way he could ever go out and be rehabilitated into an alien world. So he went back in, people. So that's just what you've done, Jill. You went out into this world in learning things. It was massively too incomprehensible for you. It's fucking endless. And so you came back into the security of your own ego and you closed it all down and you just accepted, I'll just get along with my fucking shit life, you know? Not good for your health, no. You know, this whole philosophy thing, this going down the rabbit hole, invariably isn't good for people's health. Lots of people go fucking insane. Lots of people, they'll go down one rabbit hole, like the flat earth, and they'll never ever come out. And so you see the danger of it, people. But what I did is I went down all these fucking rabbit holes, and I've been down some horrendous fucking evil rabbit holes. The whole global paedophilia and fucking sacrifice and bloodletting and all that. And you go down there, you get involved with that, you're going to fuck your life up. So you got to come out of it. You got to forget that. Seriously, you got to fucking, for the better part, you got to forget it. But it's still going on massively, prolifically all over the world. It really is a big deal. This paedophilia and child procuring and murdering and sacrificing with the elites. Alex Jones is speaking about it again, but not only Alex Jones, many, many people. And he presents document after document after document after document after document. Court case after court case after court case. Thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of missing children and all this stuff. He puts it all together. It's not a fucking fantasy, people. It's going on. So eventually I dropped it to a large degree, decided to go back into the world. No, you decided to go back into your fantasy, Jill, because there is no world. Just a conglomerate of fantastic concepts. That's all that's here. Oh, a pen? What do you mean pen? P-E-N. P-N. This is a P-N. Really? Is that what that is? Well, ask a quantum physicist what that is. Or say it's just a fluctuating fucking conglomerate of energy, mostly consisting from photons. And we think it's a pen. Oh, it's a pen. Oh, please, come on. Look, just what we're doing. We're dreaming the whole world into being. Just like when we dream at night, we're dreaming shit. And if I allow it to take hold and cross the threshold for a short period, there can be no enjoyment in it. Let us read that. It's getting interesting now, Jill. Right then, in my experience, anything which causes me to get angry or agitated and want to shout, tear someone or something down is coming from a lower realm. Okay, so again, we've got a fantasy of a higher realm and a lower realm, but we have to speak in this sort of way. If we're ever going to make any fucking way forward in this thing, with the incomprehensible thing. So again, there's no higher realms, there's no lower realms. It's just isness. But we invent that and then people go, oh, I know what you mean. But do you know what you mean? Does anybody know what you mean? And if I allow it to take hold and cross the threshold for a short period, there can be an enjoyment in it. Like scratching at a really irritating itch. It feels like, okay, fuck it, I had enough. I'm right, you're wrong, fuck you, etc. So you confront these things, you get involved, people say this, people say that. Look what's happening on this, look in the comments, everyone's saying this and the other. This is why I'm always speaking about the concept, the parable of the Tower of Babel in the Bible, where these people are building this tower to ascend to the dizziest heights of God's realm. And God went, fuck you, you fucking motherfuckers, how dare you? And fucking struck them all down with never being able to comprehend another man's language, so they could never communicate. Ha ha ha! Say to yourself, right, now you can never conspire against me. God Almighty, what sort of a cunt is this guy? Ridiculous, isn't it? But you see, when you look over the world, somebody in their infinite wisdom, you know, travellers come in different languages and that, and thinking, well, we can't really understand each other. And even if we do speak the same language, we still can't understand each other, because this person thinks that person thinks that. We can even have what we consider to be the same fucking boat trip. Let's say we all went on a boat and went across the ocean and went to this island, and then when we come back, you know, lots of us wrote about it. Well, you've got all these fucking different accounts. It's kind of like, were we on the same boat? Were we actually on the same fucking boat? No, you're never on the same boat. You are in here. That's your world. Your world entirely exists in here, but I would even go further. It's not even in your brain, because you don't have a brain. It's in your speck of God consciousness. There is no physical matter. But I always regret it, and I go back over it later. So you will regret confronting somebody, and you go back over it later, and at a later date, and have to somehow redeem yourself. That can be within, or going back to someone to apologise. The exact same event can be perceived by me completely differently when in what might be called the heart space. I'm able to see all sides because I'm seeing it from much higher perspective. So, what you're saying now here is this. You're saying that when you're arguing with someone and you'll go, fuck you, you're a fucking retard, you don't know what you're talking about. Then you'll go away and then you'll be carrying the weight of that. You'll be going, oh my God, I feel bad inside. I've got a conscience. I feel guilty. I shouldn't have said that. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I didn't really comprehend what that person was saying. But if I did really know what I'm speaking about, and I thought I really know what I'm speaking about, then do I have a right to tell that person that I'm right and you're wrong? That makes me a bigot. That makes me haughty, and that makes me overbearingly obnoxious. And oh God, you feel guilty, don't you? So then what have you got to do? You've got to get rid of the guilt within your breast, because you feel it in your heart, because your heart's going but it's all coming from the brain, people. It's all coming from the ego. And so, well, you got to look for another place to think from, haven't you? And so what do? Well, you override the ego, and you think you're thinking from the heart, but it's just an idea. You're actually thinking from the higher state of consciousness. And so your higher state of consciousness goes, look, the ego's a fucking retard. It thinks it knows this, it thinks it knows that, but really there's nothing to fucking know in this cosmos, because there's nothing here. It's just a fantasy. And so why put so much emphasis on the fucking fantasy? And so then you think you're thinking from the heart, and then it's all settled and you feel better. Why? It's because you've done some sort of repentance. You've repented. You've gone to confession. In my book, I write about the power of this, how these things work. I write about faith, I write about belief, I write about love, I write about hate, I write about God, I write about confessions, how all these things work. That book is fucking genius, just like me, by the way. And so, what you're doing, you know, from a basic psychologist perspective, I can see exactly what you're doing. But do you really know what you're doing? You think you do, or you think you're thinking from your head, and then you think you're thinking from your heart. Well, you're not thinking from either of those places. It's just pure consciousness that's thinking, and it doesn't need a fucking brain or a heart. Just like your avatar in a dream doesn't need a brain or a heart, but it's doing all these things, and you think it's thinking all these things, don't you? But then when you wake up, oh, it's just a dream. Can you imagine? This is just a dream. Please, people, get your heads around it a little bit. So, the exact same event can be perceived by me completely differently. When in what might be called the heart space, I'm able to see all sides because I'm seeing it from a much higher perspective. Okay, so look, you've got a conflict in what you're delivering there, because you've been told that you feel this shit in your heart, and so you're saying might be considered the heart space. Yes, might be, but when you look into it and you read this link that I'm going to be sending you, then you might start to think very, very differently about it. it. But then you also say, seeing it from a much higher perspective. Yeah, you're getting closer to it then, and being higher as opposed to lower. If we say that lower is the more negative and bad, and the higher is more spacious and free and correct. This is wrong, this is right. Well, again, we're just dealing with concepts, aren't we? We're just dealing with the paradoxical of nature, whereby we're inventing things. We're inventing the world. We're inventing every fucking thing. Let's just say, look, we are a human body, and we haven't ever spoken to anybody in all of our lives. And we're walking around the fucking woods, and by some miracle, we've managed to stay alive, because we've realised that putting things in our mouths takes away the pain in our stomach, and we just keep living. So you've done that, and then you come upon human beings that can talk and this, that and the other. Well, you have no idea what they are. They're aliens, aren't they? They're Martians. Why are they aliens and Martians? Because they have a program which has been written upon them ever since they were born, and you haven't been programmed like that. So you don't see their world. You don't see anything. You don't see cup. You don't see bamboo. You don't see leaf. You don't see sun, because you've never had a concept for them. So when we go back to that state of pure awareness, then we just look around and we feel. We only have our senses. We don't have concepts. We don't have a cognition. We don't have ego. We just have senses. And then when we start to feel things, we'll feel things being soft, cold, hot, hard and wet and this, that and the other, but we don't have concepts of them. So it doesn't mean anything to us because it doesn't register. But we may, just as automaton, know that if we go into that fucking water in the winter time, we feel very uncomfortable. We don't know what uncomfortable is because we don't have a concept for it, but we don't like it. We know that much, and so we get the fuck out of there. And then if we ever wrap ourselves in a fucking bear skin that we fucking cut off a bear, and you feel warmer, then you know that. But you don't know what warm is. You don't know what bear skin is, and you don't know what clothing is. You see, all these sort of things, people. So you just get your head right. You see, we have to think very, very high, very, very low, very, very long, very, very broad, very, very deep, and all these sort of things. We just have to think multifacetedly. And then when we think multifacetedly, the whole fucking thing falls down. And that's why the Buddhists, when they sat under the fucking bob trees all their lives, just in the deepness of isness, they realised it is all fucking Maya. And just like you said, you realise what you were saying to this person, this, that and the other. Well, that wasn't really so. Because when you calmed down and thought about it from another perspective, that wasn't a reality, was it? None of it's a reality, Jill. Absolutely none of it's a reality. The only reality that we could ever say that we've got is the fiction of our mind when we're holding on to a concept. That's the only fucking thing. Let all the concepts go. There is no spoon, Neo. Anyway, she says, have a good day. Yes, I mean, it's interesting to read comments from time to time. I'm labouring incessantly, aren't I, trying to impart to you how I think and why I think, and then I'm presenting you with books and video links and occasions and scenarios and all this, but you can't invariably see that. You won't take it on board. It means nothing to you. You'll get angry, you'll get agitated, sometimes you're inspired, sometimes you're this, sometimes you're that. Why is that? Because you're struggling so much with what you think you know and what you think you've experienced. I experienced something terrible from a man, years ago, and now, I'm like this with men because they all could have that potential. Well, we all have different potentials. So what are you doing? You are closing your whole fucking world down premised on one occasion. You see? Does that make logical, rational sense? It doesn't, does it? So then you have to look at what's causing that. It's stupid. It's a stupid formatting of a program. And so we have to take these things on board. And so if we look at our programs about Jesus and God and all these, you just go to a program. Every single thing is just a program. It's nonsense. It's all nonsense, people. So we've got comments in relation to this very bizarre glitch in the Matrix. And of course, you know, we've got perspectives from some people who are video editors, some people that know nothing about video editing like me, and but I do know about shapeshifters, I do know about the simulation, I do know about the Mandela effect, I do know about the Matrix. I said that, didn't I? Was that a glitch? Was that a glitch? I do know about the Matrix, I do know about the Matrix, I do. Did I just shapeshift? I think I did. Something made me shapeshift. Why didn't my brain remember? I've only fucking said it 3 seconds ago, 2 seconds ago. Why did it forget? It's a glitch in the Matrix, people. Yeah. So look, when you look at what this thing isn't any fucking thing. And that's why you've got biologists telling you one thing, you've got quantum physicists telling you another thing, you've got astrophysicists telling you some fucking thing else, you've got cosmologists telling you this, that and the other, you've got philosophers telling you that, you've got mathematicians telling you that, you've got computer fucking programmers telling you this, you've got AI telling you fucking that. That's all it is, people. It's just a conglomerate of ideas. It's consciousness. So what I do as a philosopher, I just look at all this information and how it's so massively paradoxical. And I just go, well, there is no fathoming it out because there's no bottom to it. There's no sides, there's no top, and there's no bottom. And so what you do, the average human being will just accept things. They'll accept what they're told on telly because it's easy. They'll accept that this is the cup and they won't ever, ever, ever question whether this really is a cup or not. And then when you have a feeling in your chest, well, obviously that's the heart feeling love or hate. Wow. Quite a complex organ, really, if it can generate and send signals to the brain that they hate that person. Boom, 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 boom. I hate that person. Why would a fucking pump, just responsible for pumping the blood around with the filter system of the body? Why would a pump have a mind of its own? Speaking to the mind here, going, I'm not quite sure I like this person, and then the brain goes, I see what you mean. I'll send some chemicals to make you feel out of sorts, and the heart goes, oh, okay, boom, 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 boom. Oh, I'm feeling out of sorts now. Why? Because you've asked the brain to send you some fucking chemicals, because you can't produce the chemicals yourself. The heart doesn't produce chemicals, it's just a pump, boom, 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 boom. You see, the brain does that. Anyway, people, I think I've said enough for this fucking video. Get your heads around that.